Yep.
So hello, Margaret.
Hi.
Here we are with Margaret Rosenau, and this is Fabiola Cortes Funes, and this is an interview we're going to share this afternoon to speak a little bit and to share something about Margaret's life and to know something else about her history, her coming to this world, and how this can make her be who she is now and what she's doing. And this is interesting for me, and we share some parts of our history, and I'm so happy to be here and to share this and to have it here for anyone who want to pay attention to it. So hello.
Great. Thank you, Fabiola. It's really fun to be here and exciting to share my story. So
Great.
I can say a little bit about my background. Yeah.
Yes. Who are you?
Who am I? My name is Margaret Rosenau, and I'm American and live in Denver, Colorado. And I have been for nearly 25 years craniosacral therapist, somatic experiencing practitioner, and pre and perinatal therapist. I trained with Ray Castellino in the birth pre and perinatal world in the early 2000s. And let's see, I finished my training with Ray in 2004, but I first heard about Ray maybe 1996. And I said, oh, no,
not yet.
I know enough about my birth that I'm not ready.
Okay.
Which is kind of one of the topics we'll probably talk about today, being ready and knowing when you're not ready. It's part of my story is that I was 2 months premature and spent that time in an incubator, more than 2 months in an incubator.
At what week were you born?
At 10 weeks, I think. I was born 32 or 33 weeks. No, I'm sorry. Yes, 32, I believe.
30.
But I was also one of triplets, and sadly my siblings didn't make it more than a few days after the birth, but that's so we'll get to that part of in a minute. But professionally, I now for the last 5.5 years run a school in Colorado where I teach craniosacral therapy and teach trainings on the nervous system, and have just begun. I'm in the preparation actually to offer womb surrounds to craniosacral therapists here at the school.
What a great job that can be.
Yes.
When are you going to begin that?
Well, I'm putting have to get it approved by the state of Colorado, so probably next year.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, great. And you have a web where we can put that in.
Yes.
The
my school is called the School of Inner Health. And so the website is schoolofinnerhealth.org. We can put that in there. Yeah.
Okay, great. So great. So we can begin with birth. Okay. We can go a little earlier, but if you want to say something of the before, but we can begin in birth.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about your birth? You were beginning to say.
Well, I think I started to say it was challenging being one of three, and being the one who made it and is still here. My mother was on bed rest prior to the birth, trying to make things go as long as possible. And then she began to hemorrhage, and they had to begin the birth process. So there was Pitocin and forceps, which and
forceps.
yeah.
But it was a C-section?
No,
Okay,
it was vaginal.
Vaginal, only vaginal. They
Yeah.
use this.
Yeah.
In which place were you born?
New Jersey,
in
in
which
the
place?
United States, on the East Coast, near New York.
Okay, thank you. And in the number of the first, the second, third?
First.
The first. You were first. That
I was
came
first.
out.
Yeah. Which, you know, now we understand to be part of why I'm still here.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Pausing.
Pause. Because of freezing?
Yeah, so the first helped me. So being first helped me. Yeah.
Okay, in which sense that helps you?
Yeah. But it also created an imprint of not wanting to be first.
Okay.
And believing that I hurt my siblings being first.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you didn't choose that.
Yeah. But when I was training with Ray, one of the things I learned was, oh, you know, you can't live without hurting people. It's going to happen. And it won't work to try to avoid that. So it's okay. It's just part of what happens.
Yes. Okay. Of course. That was what happened.
That's what happened. And I'm here.
Yes. And so you're here for something, and you're doing lots of things with this.
Yes. I'm still maybe trying to do 3 jobs as a school owner and a therapist and a writer and a mother, maybe more than 3. So
yeah.
But
okay. And your siblings were boys, girls?
One boy, one girl.
Oh, okay. So we can have a memory for them today and thank them.
Yeah.
Like they came with you. Yes.
Yes.
Till that point, they came with you. Okay. Do they have names or?
They had names. Actually, that's a whole big story.
Okay.
But I'll say it briefly.
Okay.
None of us were doing well. Okay. We were all, the doctors weren't sure anybody would survive. And they actually told my parents, don't name your children. But my parents didn't listen, and they named all of us. And they gave my sister the name Heidi. And my name was Margaret. And I had a brother named Eric. Okay. Then when my sister died, my parents named me Heidi Margaret. So I grew up Heidi Margaret, and I grew up really confused.
I'm sorry.
Want me to say that again? I don't know if you froze up, but no. My parents,
yes,
my parents gave my sister the name Heidi, and then when she died, they gave that name to me. So I grew up Heidi Margaret, very confused. It never felt like my name, and there's a long story of how I recovered the name. Maybe we'll talk about that some other time.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So here you are now, Margaret, only Margaret, and that's it. And we thank Heidi for her part of the trip.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so after that you were like 10 weeks in the
Yeah,
hospital.
about 10 weeks and then home.
And
And
do you want to say something about those 10 weeks? Some of the
yes,
procedures or?
yes, I don't, as far as I know, there were no like extra surgeries or any medical intervention other than resuscitation right after the birth, which is big. That's not
Yeah.
small. That's big.
Yes.
And I recently, in the last,
which
what?
technique they use? Like
That I don't know, but definitely something with chest compression or
okay.
something with my heart. Yeah.
Something manual, perhaps, not like electricity or.
I don't believe there was electricity. Okay. Manual, I think.
Okay, manual.
And actually, recently, in a pre and perinatal session, I recognized that from the birth to the resuscitation place, somebody had me and was running.
Okay. Oh.
Literally, somebody ran for my life.
Oh, great. Great for that person.
Thank
that person. Yeah.
Yes. And then what do I know? I know that being in the incubator had a lot of impact on me. The way I see the world or the way I feel sometimes instantly, like glass comes down when I get overwhelmed or when people are looking at me too strangely. And that there's a safety and a resource inside the box.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And I did a session many years ago with Anna Chitty, who's been a mentor for me, a longtime mentor and teacher for me, where she helped me navigate coming out of the box and going back in and coming out and then being ready to come out. And from that time forward, I've been more visible in the world.
Right.
So yeah, there's been a lot of questions, sometimes struggle with being seen and being invisible. And I think there's probably layers of that go to being an incubator and some that go to being a triplet and some other things, but it feels like it's getting resolved.
Great. So it's something with that, no, with being seen, and I like that.
And also, one more thing I'm thinking about a lot. Oops, I'm pausing.
Oh. Okay. You can go on. I can see you.
One other thing about the incubator that I'm learning from myself and recognizing in clients is when that there is a place where in order to get space and in order to make it through something challenging, something difficult, I go deep inside. So it's not disassociation out, it's deep, 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 deep in.
Yeah.
And that is a resource.
A resource, yeah, that's great. Just as when you said before, no, that there was something inside the box that made you feel safe. No?
Yes,
that's important.
It's contained, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you find some more things that actually you recognize that can came in your memory, in your body memory from that?
Well, not enough contact.
Not enough contact.
And only contact when somebody's doing something.
Procedure.
I was born 1967. So And I was born in a place that was very big African-American population. So my sense is that a lot of the nurses were African-American. And there's something about those voices and songs and way of being that it feels very much like that was part of my NICU experience. And temperature regulation has sometimes been a challenge, you know, going from the very warm box to come out and then go in and come out. That's been challenging. I've noticed that in my body.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's a big thing that happened for me was being in the incubator so long. They gave me antibiotics. I don't know if there was an infection or not, but the antibiotics after 10 weeks affected my hearing. So I have hearing loss.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And they now know that they were giving too much, too high
for the dose. Yeah. Well, the doctors have learned so much since then.
They have.
Yeah. And do you know if your mother was able to arrive to touch you or to hold you, or did they do that?
I don't think so in my body. I mean, I heard my father tell stories about them coming to see me, not coming to hold me.
Yeah. I remember that verb also, like seeing, not touching, like. And like also like through another glass, no, like behind another glass,
like outside. Yes.
It was like two layers. Not, I don't know if there were 2 layers of support or just
no, 2 layers of glass.
2 layers.
And my father told me, because the 3 of us were only alive for really 48 hours or less, he said the nurses took the 3 of us and held us up to the glass for our parents to see, and that my father for the rest of his life would wonder if that was part of why 2 didn't make it.
Because they put you in the glass?
Yeah, because they took us out for 5 minutes to show our parents. He was wondering. And he didn't know that that's actually probably not possible, that was the cause. Ray Castellino said to me, Margaret, you always need to remember that whatever it was that created your siblings not making it started early in the pregnancy. And one other thing I know about my time in the womb is that at that time in the United States, the doctors were telling women to not gain too much weight and only a certain amount of kilos per baby. So I was hungry.
Oh, sure.
We were hungry.
Yeah, and your mother also.
Probably. And my mother also.
Yeah. Oh, well, now we can relate in some other way with food, no?
Yes.
But it's also, yes, it's difficult. And after that, the way of we are there in the food, we can go on with that. Because after that, do you know, through you were fed through mouth or perhaps in the umbilical sometimes?
I think there was some kind of intravenous feeding.
Also.
Yeah, and at some point, but maybe that was for the antibiotics. I don't know.
Okay.
But no breastfeeding, no breast milk, you know.
Yeah. Yes, that was the common way of holding babies, and probably also less interventions that they used to do now.
Yes.
So, well, there
There's
are
a mix, yeah.
there are also good things. I'm having a look to the questions I have prepared. Okay, so we can shift to the part of the sequencing. I know you know that very well. Perhaps we can do an introduction, because sequencing is well, it's a sequence, no? What happened first, second, third, and the before, beginning, the middle, after, and conclusion. And sometimes we can see how the sequence of the birth or things that were near the birth can happen several times in life, no? And so perhaps we can define that way, no? What do you feel about your
say it again. It went frozen for a minute.
Okay, so what can you share about your sequence, about what you have?
Well, I can say that the first stage of a sequence being like intention can be very clear for me. And then quickly there was some intervention, some distraction. So that happens for me quite often. Here's my intention, and then I'm over here. And what happened? And I come back. But I have also very powerful capacity to get to the intention. Yeah.
Refocus.
And preparation for a premature person like myself, it doesn't happen. You're not ready, you know. It's just the nature of being early is that your body is not ready. So for me, there's been a lot of joy finding readiness in my life, and a lot of resistance to preparing for things, and some shame about not being ready at times.
Some what? Repeat that word.
Shame.
Shame. Okay, shame.
A lot of sometimes shame of, oh, I should have been more ready.
Okay.
Or why didn't I? How come I don't change that? But you know, becoming a teacher of a craniosacral therapy requires me to be more and more capable of being prepared, and that's good. And recently I made a plan for something I'm going to do next summer, and it felt really good to say, oh, you know what? I have a year to prepare.
Great.
And now we'll see if I can, you know, do a little and a little and a little. But
great.
Oftentimes it's waiting until the last minute to do something, and I'm working on changing that pattern. And then the birth, the action of being born, often very fast, sometimes no memory afterwards of what happened, and a speeding up in my body.
During the action.
What?
During the action.
Yes, during the action. Especially not so familiar with the action, or, you know, now that I've been teaching several years, I'm more familiar with teaching, so it changes. But when it's something new, what happened? So, and then there was no sense of completion or really an integration that happened, whatever level of it happened alone, primarily without contact in the incubator. So those places are also sometimes foggy, blurry. But I know that it helps when I slow down and make time for it.
Right.
You know? And one thing that I think I really understand about my parents is that they needed somatic support to understand that I had made it. That they were still oriented to me being not well, worried if something would happen. Every time I got sick as a child, I was rushed to the emergency room, even if it wasn't emergency.
Yeah. There are several things that touches my history also. Have you finished? Did you also did the after or the integration part?
Say it again, Fabiola.
Okay.
Okay. The question.
Did you finish this part or the integration? So after.
Oh, probably not.
It's easy for me also like to disorient.
Yeah, when does that end? Well, what I've learned as a therapist, as a practitioner, and an adult is that when integration is complete, then there's a new impulse that can come, right? So it's still hard for me to make enough space for that.
For intention to appear.
For the next thing to happen, appearing. And it's also, I think, another layer of how being premature is a challenge today is the part of me that is still always doing. Sometimes if I have learned how to settle and I have learned how to pause. And if I'm trying to get ready for something, it's very hard for me to feel calm and like I can pace myself, you know.
Yeah, I can. It's great to hear that, like that, that connection to what happens to you and why that can connect to your early history.
Yeah, it was helpful for me to say it, like, oh, when I'm trying to get ready. Oh, right.
Okay. Yes, and I'm also resonating with this of never being enough prepared. No, like it's like I have to do this again and again and again.
Yes.
This morning I was like doing something, some meditation. I was recording it, and it was like, okay, I did it. It was a good one.
Say again, because you first. So you said this morning, and then.
Okay, this morning that I was doing recording a meditation, and I always think, oh, this can be done better, but it's okay. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Go on.
That reminds me of something I told a client a few months ago. And then I had to, after the session, I had to go, ooh, I should take my own advice. My client was also starting a business in a big project. and working really hard and not feeling like it was enough. And I said, well, what if you weren't trying to make it 10 out of 10, but maybe 8 out of 10? And then I finished the session and I thought, can I do that? Because it feels like I'm always trying to go for 10, because as a premature person, I had to like think that way. Like the only way to survive was to get all the way there, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was a matter of survivance, not. Right. And now it's not.
Now.
No, it's not. Now we are here and we are alive already.
Yeah.
Completely. Okay, so we can shift to what? To what do you want? To your relationship with your body, or your infancy, your relationship with doctors? What do you want? You can choose. Now you can choose.
Well, actually, when you say relationship with doctors, I feel a little bit of a charge. When I think about relationship to my body, it's a little softer, but I'd like to do both, I think.
Okay.
I mean, I already talked a little bit about my relationship to my body, I think. And one of the questions you sent me said, do you like to go to the gym? You know, do you like to? And yes. And since I was a teenager, I've been like that. And I think the part of me that's needed to figure out how to be healthy in the beginning of life is still enjoys feeling healthy. So and feeling strong. So I like to create the situation of lifting weights and feeling my body be alive and strong.
Right.
You know.
I like to hear that because my experience is different, but so I like to hear this experience from you.
And I have had many situations of working through, you know, or not being as present. And I think that's something I do well for clients, but I've had to learn the hard way. And what it actually feels like to be embodied fully is, I think that's something that going to the gym helps with, but also doing my work has helped me. And I love the feeling of feeling in my body. And it's actually affected a lot of the choices in my life. For example, I used to spend a lot of time in India, and while there were many things I loved, the Hindu tradition and some other traditions that say, you know, we're going to finish and leave our bodies and finish being embodied. We don't have to come back. And I was like, I don't have this. I don't want this. I want to stay. You know, I love my body. I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
It's taken me all this time to come in.
Okay.
So instead, I do a lot of physical, spiritual things like. Yeah, I don't know. But then when it comes to medical doctors or other people, medical doctors, I often don't find my voice, and sometimes don't even realize it until some hours or days later what's happened. And I'm getting better because I recognize it. It's getting better. But it's challenging.
Yeah.
Especially with medical doctors, but actually happens sometimes when I think someone is better at whatever they're doing. They're playing music and I want to learn to play music and they're better at it and I listen to them because they know and I don't know. It's the same thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I enjoy very much when I'm able to teach doctors about anything, no? About communication or about whatever. And it's like, yes, now I have the voice to say this. No, I've been my whole life preparing myself to explain this to them.
Yes. And I've definitely had the experience many times of not being understood and not being believed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that can't be what's happening. But I'm having it happen. Like, this is my experience, you know. And I wonder sometimes, is that like when I was in the incubator, all the people outside, especially in 1967, very unlikely that anyone else had been inside an incubator, right? So they didn't know, so they were guessing. And sometimes I wonder if that imprint is still comes when there's something important. Like, no, you're not listening, you're not seeing, you're not hearing. So
completely, yeah. And yes, like there is a knowledge from the inside out. No? Like I know many things, and perhaps you can ask me, like, is this hurting you? I know if it's hurting or not, and probably you don't know it, or you can see some signs, but you are not looking at them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things over there, but we're going to Swift. Say that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Relationship with others. What we can say about that? Small topic.
Small topic. Let me pause and think.
Yeah. Okay. Because I love that thing, that what you said about this African American, like the imprint of seeing that kind of things outside, like
energy and culture.
Yes. So this is familiar for me. No, it's like this has been in my surround, no, from the beginning.
Yes, it was in my surround in the beginning, and it's not who I am, but there's an early impact. And another early one is that, as we've talked about off camera, that my mother was from Argentina, and so even though I don't speak Spanish, I can comprendo a little bit, and that is there.
Yeah.
And it has a similar flavor of like, oh, that's part of what was in my surround and got inside me somehow.
Yeah.
But what do I want to say? I mean, relationships are really important to me, and I feel like I was very lucky to have a childhood where I learned something about how to make good relationships, and had some places where it was safe to be angry and have my feelings, and that helped a lot. And there's and I have a good marriage, and I have a daughter, and I think I'm a good mother, and I have always gotten very confused if I have to do more than one role at a time. In my childhood, I ended up kind of being a mother and a therapist for my father and a wife. And so now, as an adult, I'm a mother and a therapist and a wife, but they're all normal,
And now you choose them.
appropriate and capable,
Yeah.
but it's really important for me to keep things separate. And whenever there's more than one role, it's overwhelming very quickly. So people have given me feedback, like with the school, like, oh, you hold good boundaries. And well, I'm still learning, but I have to because I can't function otherwise. Yeah. So, and sometimes I notice that, and I wonder about the early imprint of this. Sometimes I notice that it's easier for me to have my attention and my focus and be impacted by people I don't know as well than by my family. And sometimes I'm still trying to find a balance. Yeah. Family and work and life is sometimes hard.
Yeah, that sounds familiar also.
Yeah.
To me. But when you say that, what I connect is one thing that we were speaking before. For me, it's difficult, for example, like to eat and be in the conversation. It's like when I'm eating, I'm like there. It's like this is a big thing to do. No, I can do it, no, but I prefer to do it like only that. If I'm eating, I'm not paying attention to much of the conversation. And if I'm paying attention
I think
to
it's hard to stay aware of the inside when there's a lot going on the outside.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so the connection, no? When you are in connection with your inner partner, like
and keeping the pace, or not go out to meet the other people pacing or request or whatever. That's hard.
Okay, so we're going to go to the last thing. Well, the only thing is because, well, I don't want to keep it very long, even if we can be here speaking for hours.
Right.
Yeah. Can you tell us something about how you were in the lockdown? Because this was a situation that could be like familiar, like being inside some place, and not only the lockdown, but also like when you go out, finding out like everybody's wearing a mask, and sometimes perhaps this could be like, what is happening? Like, and I try to relate it with your early experience. Yes, like different from the rest of the people that are also going through this same experience.
Yeah. It was a very creative time for me. I'm actually gonna, I'm pausing. Sorry. I just want to show you. One of the things that happened in lockdown was I wrote a poetry book.
Oh, yeah, really? Oh, yeah. Great. Imagine.
These are all poems written in 2020. And so for me, it's called Will I See You Again? And you can find this book on Amazon. But for me, it was really creative time and like a permission to slow down and a permission to not do that I don't give myself. And a feeling of the safety of home and a little and less safe out in the world was familiar. Yeah. And I got used to the mask, but in the beginning, it was very hard not to see people's mouths, and also as someone who can't hear so well, even more challenging. And then hearing aids and masks, and like to get all tangled up together, and it's very complicated to wear hearing aids with masks. So it was actually like having to go back to when I couldn't hear anything, or when I couldn't hear as much. So that was hard. Out in the world would be hard at times, and I had to teach or remember to, when I come home, say, oh, as far as I know, it's safe in here, and then let myself feel safer, you know. And then I noticed when, I mean, in the United States, it was we had Donald Trump then, and it was it's still crazy, but it was crazy. And every state is still doing it differently. And in Colorado, we went into lockdown in the middle of March, and we came out just under 2 months later. So there's the time again, 2 months.
2 months.
That's how premature I was. And here we were, 2 months, and I didn't want it to end. I was like, let's stay in lockdown.
Yeah.
I don't want to go fast. I don't want to go out. I just want to stay.
Yeah.
And
how strange.
I still feel that way.
And you want to stay there, no? Like,
yeah, like I would be okay if we just went slow.
And where do you want to stay? In the incubator, in the lockdown, or in the womb? Oh, you freeze. No.
Ask the question again. Ask the question again.
I don't know if you want.
You said you want to stay in the incubator?
In the lockdown or in the womb?
Oh, good question. I don't know. I mean, I like the being social again. It felt so good to hug people, and yet now here we are back to masks where I am. We're still outside, but now with masks, and it's a bit of a confusion for me, because the part of me that wrote the poetry wants everything to fall apart and just learn from the virus and let the world be different now. And then the part of me that runs a business and has to make money and has to be a parent and wondering about my daughter and wants the world to go back. So I watched those parts kind of,
Here we are, like fighting and, and trying to learn.
Yeah.
So the last question will be, what would you like to thank to your experience of being born premature, or at a time that was earlier, or as you want to say?
What am I grateful for, kind of thing? I love this question. I'm so glad I made it, and I really love being alive, and I feel like I'm stronger, or strong in a particular way, because of having such a difficult beginning, and even though it's sometimes confusing, or sometimes I don't separate then and now, and I can get in the old fear, I feel like it also gave me some kind of deep knowing that I can do what I need to do. Right. And it taught me, even though this was also really hard, and sometimes, like right now, I feel sadness. I think it taught me how to be alone.
Alone. Yeah.
you know, and I've had to learn how to connect when I need to connect, and I can do that now.
Yeah.
But I also see a lot of people in my life who don't know how to be alone, and
Mm,
I can be alone.
yeah.
And that's sometimes really good.
Yes, it's so useful. So
Yeah.
that's so good.
So,
So great, Margaret. So it's been a great pleasure sharing all these things. I think we have a lot of things to go on sharing, and we are like discovering each other now, and we have so many things in common, not only this beginning.
I know, it's amazing. We'll have to tell that story in another interview, huh?
Yeah, we have to say that. Yes, but
Or
well
or
said.
or you know, whatever we do next. But thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the time to tell my story. I hope the people listening learned something or made sense for them in their own stories, you know.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
And
my Spanish is not very good, but I'm always happy to talk with people. If anyone, you know, wants to know more, they can reach out and we can give them all that information.
yes,
So
I'm sure this will end in something else, not like this connection that we're doing transoceanic, like
yeah,
from
yeah. But
Spain to yeah,
something's getting ready to blossom from this. Yeah.
yes, because we never met in person, so we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I have so many people to visit now from, you know, when the world is safe to go everywhere again. It's going to be so nice.
Yes,
So,
so
oh,
thank you so much, and we'll go on sharing.
okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.